You're listening to Affected by Altitude, a Colorado Rockies podcast for and by Rockies fans on Rocky Mountain Rooftop. Thank you for joining us as we discuss all things baseball and Colorado Rockies.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Affected by Altitude, a Colorado Rockies podcast, part of the Rocky Mountain Rooftop Network, proud affiliate of the Fans First Sports Network. I'm your host, Skyler Timmons, joined here, once again, by Evan Lang.
Howdy.
Howdy. We both just recently woke up from naps prior to recording, and we are recording this a day earlier than we normally do. So it is Saturday when we're recording this. You're hearing this on Monday. It's because somebody has plans on Sunday.
Yeah. So I got distracted by a cat. I asked to record early because I'm going to be going to the Savannah Bananas at Coors Field on Sunday, which really exciting. Really looking forward to.
Yeah, so we'll probably talk about that next time. Get that whole experience down, but fun stuff. You can.
I am just so curious to see, because at most of these stadium takeover events that they've done this year, they've had a team alumni for the stadium that they normally have as an honorary team member or something like that. And I'm just really curious to see who it's going to be, if anybody, for the Rockies. My guess is Ryan Spilborghs or probably Vinny Castilla.
Yeah, Corey Sullivan.
One of those guys.
Yeah, but somebody who is already easy to get a hold of to do it. Because I don't see Charlie Blackmon doing it.
I could maybe see Charlie Blackmon doing it because he's, from Georgia. And, he's got the name for himself with a big wild beard and stuff like that. But, Chuck was actually just recently in Altoona with the Hartford Yard Goats, where he was a coach in the dugout for them for that series, which is pretty cool. But yeah, it's probably going to be one of those guys. Don't expect, Todd Helton to show up or something like that.
Troy Tulowitzki just strolls out.
Hey, I said I wanted nothing to do with the Rockies. I didn't say nothing about Coors Field and the Bananas. Just for that, I'm going to get my hopes up.
Yeah, but it'll be interesting. This is old news by the time you're hearing this, but we'll chat on it about more next week and get Evan's thoughts on it and everything. But
wow, I can't believe insert player name here showed up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sold out crowd, I assume. Place is going to be packed. Then we're going to hear nothing about, replace the Rockies with the Bananas. That discourse will be on Twitter all over the weekend, so brace yourselves for that. But we're not here to talk about the Bananas, who are rich in potassium. But we're here to talk about the Rockies, who are not rich in potassium. They may be iron deficient, even.
Yeah, maybe that's been the problem the whole time. Get these boys some potassium. What's going on?
Monkeys never cramp.
In the wise words of Munenori Kawasaki.
Yes, and I'm not going to pull up my clip of him. But the Rockies just finished up their home series. They're in Arizona for the weekend. Already played one game. Wasn't pretty. It's just the nature of playing against the Diamondbacks. No matter where they're at, they usually do well against the Rockies. But Rockies had an interesting homestand. We didn't talk about it a whole bunch when they played the Pirates. But Evan, that was an interesting 3-game series. They had a couple of pretty cool comebacks, especially a very improbable comeback. And then they got beat. They couldn't quite mount the comeback for a sweep. But a good series against the Pirates of what's been a strong start to the second half after the All-Star, the quote-unquote second half, which is pretty much just the last 2 weeks of July and then into August and September. But not too shabby of series. But then the Toronto Blue Jays come into town and absolutely demolish the Colorado Rockies. They bludgeon them to death, so to speak.
Yeah, it was probably the worst series the Rockies have played all season.
It was ugly.
It was bad. And, for the Pirates, that first game, like we talked about, where, we had that such incredibly exciting comeback, and, it felt demoralizing to be down 9-0, before we even swung the bats. But then, the Rockies kept coming back into it, and we were even like, well, even if they don't win, it's at least been a fun back and forth and a nice crazy series. And you could say the same for, pretty much the next two games as well of, at least we were in it.
Mm.
We were never in it against the Blue Jays. And it's the night and day difference of facing a team like the Pittsburgh Pirates, who have some fun pieces, but are much more on the Rockies level, and a team that is right now widely considered one of, if not the best in the American League. And they bludgeoned us to death.
Yeah. No, they put up, was it 63, 64 hits in the 3-game series. As the most in a 3-game series in the modern era in history, in baseball history. They averaged about 20-plus hits a game. They outscored the Rockies by a ton.
It was 45-6.
There you go. Yeah, 45-6, which was the second largest run differential between teams in a 3-game series since 1901. It was just one shy of the record, which was set by the Brooklyn Superbas against the Cincinnati Reds 124 years ago. So that's fun. Toronto scored 45 runs, which was the most scored by a Major League team in a 3-game series since 2019. It's the most in their franchise history. They had 40 more hits than Colorado, which is the biggest hit differential in a 3-game series since 1900. 45 runs was a franchise record for the Blue Jays. Also the hits. 2 Blue Jays set career highs for RBIs in a single game with 6. Bo Bichette did it with a 2-homer performance on Monday of that series, and then Dalton Varsho in his 2-homer game the next day on that Tuesday. And then their 13 home runs tied a franchise record for the most in a 3-game set. And of course, all of those numbers are the most against a Rockies team in franchise history. Of the 45 runs, 63 hits, 13 home runs. Just ugly across the board. Yeah. Pitching just couldn't. It was batting practice for the Toronto Blue Jays. They were hitting everything that was thrown at them.
75 total base runners for the Blue Jays. 75. That is so many.
Yeah.
And all the home runs, none of them were just like, oh, they just squeaked over the wall. No, they were all no doubters. The 2 that Dalton Varsho hit in his 2 home run performance, both of those were just like, that got out of there in a hurry. They were moonshots.
They had almost as many home runs as they did strikeouts. They had 15 strikeouts. They hit 13 home runs. You just think about that, of just how nuts that is. And it's a lot of a testament. It's kind of, he said, facing the Pirates are a bad team. They are not good. They have some good players, but even as a whole, that is not a good team. And the Rockies are able to compete against them, even when they fell behind. They're able to battle back and do that. When not the Blue Jays, night and day difference. This is a team that is leading their division, has one of the best records in baseball, and has one of the best offenses in baseball with a lot of good pitching. It is a complete team that is just dominating this year. It kind of came out of nowhere, it seemed, where nobody maybe had this high expectations for the Blue Jays. They're just doing everything right. They're getting contributions 1 through 9 in that lineup, and it came through in that series at Coors Field.
Yeah, like you said, it's the entire lineup. It's the role players and the starters and the regulars and everybody. The pitching was solid for the Blue Jays. It was rough. I don't really even know. It was hard to even put into words how bad that series was.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, it's a testament to where the Colorado Rockies are right now. And how far behind they are, how bad they are compared to a team that's actually competing.
Yeah, because it seemed like every single guy with that Blue Jays lineup is like, who is Ernie Clement? Who's Addison Barger? Like, these names sound familiar, but who are these guys? Is what I kept thinking every time guy comes up and hits the ball. Like, of course, you expect the Vladdy Juniors to absolutely smack the heck out of the ball. You expect a Bo Bichette, who's been a star for Toronto for quite a few years now. But then the rest of that lineup is like Davis Schneider. Who the heck is this guy?
Who's Buddy Kennedy?
Yeah.
Why did Joey Loperfido have like a 4-hit game against the Rockies?
Yeah. it's nothing against those guys, but these aren't the big name type of players. These aren't guys on a national scale that the league's talking about. But then you look at the Blue Jays and just how legit of a team this is. And when I think of the Blue Jays, Evan, they don't hit that same like big market idea that it feels like with a lot of other teams like in the AL East, the NL West. They always seem like a team that's they're a mid-market type of team. They're maybe the same kind of market size, so to speak, in just terms of how they operate. But the Blue Jays are always in on guys. They've got money to spend. They're trying, they compete, and it's working out for them. Is Canada just that much better?
The moves they make are usually pretty smart. Like, yeah, there's occasionally a thing where it's like, don't know why they did that. But I feel like that's most teams.
Yeah.
They extended Vladdy Jr. Really the only big question mark for their core team right now is Bo Bichette still going to be a Blue Jay next year? Because I think this is his walk year.
Mm-hmm.
And, Bo Bichette actually started the season not doing that great, but he's really turned it around, I believe. And for the majority of the season has been quite good. And the question is, well, here's another really good player where maybe we don't have the money to keep him. But at the same time, you feel like, well, they could potentially still replace him because, from somebody from the farm or somebody via trade. They seem overall like a fairly well-run organization. I actually don't know that much about the Toronto Blue Jays, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Yeah. And that's kind of how it is on that national scale because of the league, the division they play in. They're overshadowed, but then quietly they come out of nowhere, and they operate under the radar, but they're in it. They do some of those decisions, like you're saying, and they just put on a show of like the Rockies. Look at what these guys are doing. They are a team that has really good plate discipline. They did not chase a lot. They did not expand the zone. When you left a meatball middle in, they did not miss those pitches. They punished mistakes, and they got good pitches. They made good swings. No, it wasn't as much that the Rockies are just so blatantly terrible and awful. It's part of it, but it's also like the Blue Jays are legit. They are a good team, and they just put on a hitting display against the Colorado Rockies. They dominated at Coors Field, something the Rockies have not done at all. For a couple of years now, where they do not control their home. And so the team comes in and just bludgeon them. They make contact. They don't strike out. They get big hits. They utilize power to just bludgeon the other team. There's no reason the Rockies couldn't be like that at home. And I don't know what they need to do to get there.
Yeah, and they get contributions from everybody in the lineup. You don't have the black hole at the bottom of the lineup or something like the Rockies tend to do. And it really is like they took advantage of being at Coors Field. Like you said, something the Rockies haven't done. You saw a couple people go, oh, well, this is just Coors Field. And it's like, but if it's just Coors, we've had this conversation so many times. If it's just Coors Field, why can't the Rockies do that? Yeah. Pretty much ever. And they can't. And it's because you've got to do all the other stuff right, too.
Mm-hmm. So it's just, it made me jealous. I'm like, what this team used to be able to do. That glimpse of that comeback against the Pirates. Those glimpses of what this offense can do. It's just so inconsistent where you can't get it consistently enough.
We went from what was probably the most fun game in years for the Rockies. A crazy back and forth bludgeoning of the ball between two teams at Coors Field on a beautiful summer night, to an absolutely demoralizing beatdown in 3 games.
Yeah, and then it carried over to their first game against the Diamondbacks, where they did a whole lot of nothing. They got an RBI single. That's about it to help with their scoring. So it's the inconsistencies. We see what they can do, and it's like, take some notes from Toronto. Dang, I would love to see that again.
Yeah, but even for Toronto, it was like the pitching was good too. And that's the thing with Toronto, is they're getting everything out of their pitching staff as well. Whereas with the Rockies, it's spin a roulette wheel on how the starter's going to be tonight, and then there's a non-zero chance the bullpen is going to absolutely implode. And the Rockies honestly got lucky that old quote-unquote friend Jeff Hoffman didn't have to come in at all during the series, because from everything I've heard, he was kind of itching to come in and put on a clinic.
I would have loved if he had come in and we just like put up 3 homers against him.
Yes, that would have been delightful, but it probably wouldn't have happened.
Not, but
like Jeff Hoffman having a pretty good season with the Blue Jays after signing a big deal with them, who has never missed an opportunity to throw shade at his former organization.
He, I will just say he could also take some responsibility for also being terrible.
No, it was entirely the Rockies' fault.
Hoffman kind of was terrible too.
Please ignore the fact that he was bad with 3 other teams before getting to the Phillies.
Yeah. But yeah, sure, it's the Rockies' fault.
I mean, the Rockies didn't help. Like, don't get me wrong there. Like, the Rockies have a bad habit of focusing on the wrong things sometimes, and it is to the detriment of player development, like Hoffman has mentioned. But let's not act like it's not a two-way street here.
Yeah, that he had no agency in the thing. Anyways, good for him. But yeah, just an awful series and just demoralizing. And it was one of those reality checks like, oh yeah, this team is terrible this year. Like, this is bad. And it's something that feels like it could happen at any moment with any team that comes to play the Rockies. It could happen at any moment.
When you've got Austin Nola on the mound,
Poor guy.
throw in, 40-something meatballs and the Blue Jays they kept slapping him around even after, the Rockies ran up the white flag in the series finale of position player on the mound. Let's just get this done.
It's 12-1. We're it's over with.
And they put up 8 runs on him. And, there were some people going, oh, well, this is just unsportsmanlike. And, kudos to Warren Schaefer, because after the game, he was like, they asked him, it's like, what do you think about them, roughing up your position player pitching? And he's like, they earned it by putting themselves in that situation. I'm not going to ask them to just not try anymore and get the game over. We put ourselves in that position by being down 12-1, and they, earned the right to kind of tee off there by being up 12-1.
Yeah, it's like the hitters are still they're gonna swing because they know, like, they're also kind of, in a sense, they're like, I'm not gonna sit here and wait. Like, he's gonna throw it over, I'm gonna swing at it, and whatever happens, happens. And it just so happened that they just kept crushing the ball like they had done all series.
Yeah, like that's just how it goes sometimes. And in my opinion, if you don't want your position player pitcher to get obliterated, maybe have them try and throw some actual pitches, because I know the goal is to, just get it done. Just go slow, lob it over the plate, to try not to get hurt, and, get this game over with. But my honest opinion is it's humiliating and it's demoralizing to have a guy that's not even really trying, just sort of out there to eat up your time. Like, we know Austin Nola can throw harder than that. We know he probably knows at least a little bit about pitching. His brother is Aaron Nola. But we've seen this.
Me by the way he was pitching. Hi-oh.
I know. I posted. I'm like, well, let's bet he got a call from his brother later that day. But it's like, and we've seen, when like Alan Trejo or Jacob Stallings pitch earlier, that it's at least a little bit of an entertainment factor of when they actually cranked it up and tried to throw a pitch instead of just lobbing lightly the ball over the plate. It's at least less demoralizing. Like, I get it. I get the need of it. Look, you don't want to waste any more bullpen arms. This game is over. Okay. It's a blowout. Get it done. But at least let it pretend to still be competitive.
Yeah. And just get the game over with. But
it doesn't work like that, clearly, because if it was just getting the game over with, the Blue Jays wouldn't have been able to put up 8 runs.
I don't know. They're putting up those 8 runs either way.
Yeah, you're probably right.
A difference of 10 miles per hour isn't going to change the outcome.
Yeah, but a difference of like 30 or 40 miles per hour would. When you're throwing...
Austin Knowles, a 30-some-odd-year-old man. He's not doing that. He doesn't want to do that.
It was his pitching debut. Come on. Put a little oomph on that.
No, he's cold. He didn't go down to the bullpen and warm up.
I thought you were saying he's cold temperature-wise, and I just thought of the Grandpa Simpson. It's cold and my back hurts.
Yeah, he's coming off the bench. His warm-up pitches was all he had thrown that day. So, of course, he's just going to lob them in. But, oh well. The solution is don't suck on the mound and at the plate, and you don't be put in that situation.
Yeah, that's true. The solution is don't be down 12-1 in the 9th inning.
Yeah. Also, really quickly before we take a break, have the Rockies used more position players this year than Bud Black? Pitching-wise? How many have the Rockies used this year under Warren Schaefer compared to Bud Black in, 2024?
I think it's only been once, hasn't it? It's been Trejo, Stallings, and now Nola.
No, Farmer pitched.
Oh, you're right. I think it's 2-2 then.
Yeah, it's something like that.
Because I'm pretty sure Trejo, when he pitched, Bud Black was still here. Stallings pitched in that 20-0 blowout against that blowout against the Padres, and then that would be Farmer and Nola under Schaefer. So yeah, 2-2.
There you go. Yeah. Weird. Anywho's, we'll take a break here. Moral of the story: losing badly sucks. But we'll take a break here. When we come back, we're going to talk about a friend of the show. So don't go anywhere. Here on Affected by Altitude. Welcome back here to Affected by Altitude, Skyler and Evan. And like a couple of proud papas, one of our friends of the show made his Major League debut on Friday night. Kind of a surprise that it happened this soon. We knew it was going to happen eventually, but it finally has happened here, early part of August, where third baseman Kyle Karros, friend of the show, two-time friend of the show, was selected and made his debut with the Rockies against the Arizona Diamondbacks, started at third base, was the lone RBI single in that Friday game, made quite a few good plays over there at third base as well, and, he's with the big league club now at third base. We'll talk about why, but Evan, pretty exciting that Kyle is now a big leaguer.
Came out of nowhere too, we'll talk about all the reasons why, but we knew pretty much that Aaron Schunk was coming back up to the roster before that game, so we were just waiting on the roster moves and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden it comes out Karros is on the way up, and Karros has only been in Albuquerque for less than a month, so
2 weeks, really.
We all thought, we'll probably see him this year, but maybe September. He's going to be one of those late game call. Nope, he's here. And it's so great. And yeah, the Rockies may have had their hands forced by some other reasons, but at the same time, Kyle has been doing really good down in AAA Albuquerque. Like, you cannot take away just how in the 2 weeks he's been there, he's got multiple home runs. He's hitting 306, 368, 500. He's drawing plenty of walks. He's getting extra base hits. He's playing fantastic defense at third base. Like, he's put on a show. He's been an everyday contributor in that lineup since he got to Albuquerque, just like he had done in Hartford, just like he did in Spokane last year. And that's really been the story of Kyle Karros over the last 2 seasons of, you can't ignore me because I'm really playing that well. And it's funny, we had some commenters over on Purple Row who were talking about him, going like, I saw him play a couple games in person in Hartford or in Spokane or in Albuquerque, and every time I watched him play, he looked like the most prepared guy on the field every game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and it makes sense, knowing his background, the pedigree of who his dad is, a former Dodger slugger, Eric Karros. He's got his brother who is a pitcher. But he's got that work ethic. Grew up around the Dodgers and everything, so he's got plenty of background with the game. So really, it's like, it shouldn't surprise anybody that he does look like the most prepared person. But what I've liked as we've talked to him and as we've followed him, his journey over these last couple of years, is that he knows who he is as a player. I think that's what is most important, is that he knows who he is, what his strengths are, and what his plan is at the plate. He's not trying to do anything different. And he's just been the same guy at each level.
Yeah.
And that's
a
guy who's going to make good swings, make good contact, and drive the ball across the field.
And a focus on being his own player. When we talked to him for the first time, way back when he had only been with Spokane for a little bit in 2024, he talked about how he wants to be his own player. And like you said, focus on his own strengths and play the game his way, not try and be a carbon copy of his dad or of other ball players. And, a couple times they talked to him over the last week or so, and then last night, it's like, well, who do you model your game after? And he goes, oh, Nolan Arenado. He was my favorite player growing up.
Yeah.
And you could see some of that in him with like sort of the twitchiness and attention to detail at third base and the way he approached some of his at-bats. And for Kyle, especially, for me, it was the defense. He looked absolutely prepared to play big league defense at third base last night.
Yeah.
And we know from speaking to Kyle from the last time he was on the show how much value he places on defense. He mentioned that his focus on glove work is the reason why he was able to be a starter his freshman year at UCLA. It's something that he's put a ton of focus on, and it's something that he knows, to basically paraphrase him, your bat's going to be hit or miss sometimes. Sometimes you're going to have bad days at the plate. But you can go out there and have a solid defensive day every single day and help the team that way.
Yeah. He's already got a gold glove to his credit. And what's cool with the minor league gold gloves is that they only hand out one per position across all the levels. And so when you're designated as the best third baseman in the entire minor leagues, that carries some weight too.
Yeah. The glove work reminds me of Brenton Doyle, honestly, who, when Brenton Doyle, also a minor league gold glove winner, came up, it was not his bat that necessarily blew every way at first. It was that he was immediately playing impactful quality defense.
Yeah. And so we're seeing that with Kyle, and it's just cool to see that he can come in and know to immediately make an impact, get an RBI single for his first at-bat, and doing what he does best. Slapping it across the field, slaps one the other way. He drew a walk then in his next at bat. And then unfortunately, it's the game-ending double play that he hits at the very end of the game, but we don't care about that. Team wasn't winning that game anyway. But he's already to get those things out of the way. Get an RBI single. You can see why he can be valuable to this team right now, 23 years old. But he forced himself into the conversation. I think his steady growth is what made it possible for the Rockies to be like, we can trade Ryan McMahon. It's okay. We can trade him because we know who is coming up next. And he's carved that out for himself, which is awesome to see.
Yeah, and he's got McMahon's support too. Like, he texts Ryan McMahon. McMahon really took him under his wing during spring training. Which is really cool to hear. He says McMahon calls him kid, which is funny because it's a grown man right there. He looks Karros looks a lot older than he is, honestly. Like, sometimes you look at him and go, it's like, yeah, there's a young man, because he's only 23 years old. But then you see him playing out there, and it's like, no, that's a grown man right there.
Yeah.
But what really stood out to me yesterday was, especially in those first two at bats, yeah, the strikeout was meh, the double play wasn't great, but it's never great to hit into a double play, no matter who you are. Was his first two at bats, especially with an umpire that was doing him no favor. Strike zone last night was awful. He's taking long, patient at bats. He's watching pitches and then deciding when to strike. He's kind of the polar opposite of Warming Bernabel, who is hyper aggressive in his plate approach, but they still focus on the same thing, which is getting the barrel through the zone.
Yeah, and these are two guys that kind of exemplify one of the qualities that the Rockies are trying to value more in the system, of guys that are going to make contact. They're not uber aggressive power hitters. The power will come. But Karros, hopefully as he continues to fill out, maybe he can add in and reach to like a 20 homer plus. But no, he gets you a dozen home runs, which is perfectly fine. And as he's playing good defense and hits for a high average, you'll take that. If he's getting on base, he's got those tools that are useful to a club like this. And Bernabel kind of fits that mold too. A guy that makes contact, can run into some stuff, but if he can hit for a high average, get on base, and he can run into some home runs too, get you a dozen plus home runs, you'll take that.
It's like we talked about with Braden Ward last week. And if you haven't seen that, check out our interview with Braden Ward here on Rocky Mountain Rooftop. Absolute delight of getting on base, making contact. Sometimes that's the best thing you can do. And yeah, home runs are great, but if you can also set other guys in the lineup up to succeed, that is also huge. And that's been something we've seen now with Karros and Warming Bernabel. Bernabel especially, yeah, he's run into some home runs. He's got decent power, but it's mostly been he's getting on base, advancing the runners, and putting him in a position where he can be advanced by someone else.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing you're going to see with Kyle Karros, where he's going to have clutch hits and move the runners along like he did last night, and then put himself in a position where he can be scored. And really, like, the one major blemish, I think, the one major real rookie mistake was when he tried to advance to third after his RBI single, where, he was out by a mile. And it was a little bit of a base running mistake, but it's also, you can't fault the guy. It's his big league debut. He also just got his first hit, got his first RBI, and, he's trying to make something happen.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's kind of his brand of baseball. So hopefully he can ball out over this and stick around for the next month and a half and ball out and then really put himself in a prime position to take over as opening day third baseman in 2026.
Yeah, and the Rockies basically said, and we'll talk about why a little bit, but Karros is going to be the third baseman pretty much for the rest of the season.
Yeah, because there really ain't other options at the moment.
He will play, and it will be at third base. And, that's kind of why. The no other options thing is why the Rockies' hand got forced into calling him up maybe a little bit early, but you're going to go far, kid. I like you said at the beginning of this, it's the proudness of, this is one of our guys right here, and now he's there on my big TV in a Major League Baseball game and putting in the work, and it's awesome to see.
Yeah, absolutely. So congrats to Kyle and to his family. Awesome to see that moment of him calling his dad and calling his parents, and when he's getting that call down in Albuquerque and everything. Awesome stuff. But the reason why he's also coming up, the silver lining of why he gets called up, the unfortunate part that happens is because injuries, which has been a story with the Rockies this season, but a couple more happen recently. So after Ryan McMahon gets traded to the Yankees, we're like, okay, who's going to play third base? Well, I guess Warming Bernabel is playing first base, so who's this? Orlando Arcia is getting the bulk of starts at third base, along with Kyle Farmer getting thrown in there. But Arcia in that Blue Jay series, appeared to injure his arm after making contact on a swing, and turns out a problem with his elbow. He had felt something on a throw the previous inning, and then when he came up to the plate, swung, made contact, and his arm was just dead. So, again, the MRIs, there's no clear distinction on what it is yet, but he was placed on the 10-day injured list, though the likelihood it probably doesn't look good for him. Who knows? Elbows are tricky. So they'll get more information, but it's not great for him right now. And kind of a blow to Arcia, who, let's be honest, he wasn't tearing the cover off the ball. He's filling in across the field. He's made a lot of good contributions just as a veteran presence, leadership in this clubhouse. Rockies have enjoyed having him around. He enjoys being around, helping out these players. But, tough blow, though, for Arcia. You always hate to see a guy get injured.
Yeah, and it was very strange to see. This was during the Toronto series where he makes contact on a base hit, and immediately, like, you can see it on his face of like, nope, something ain't right, and he runs to the base and then immediately takes himself out of the game. Like, no arguing, no testing anything out. It's, I'm done. This is done. And apparently he's been in some pretty considerable discomfort in that elbow, and he's done for the season. They put him on the 10-day to start, but it is doubtful he's going to come back, especially with that kind of injury where the discomfort's not getting better. And, you know, the thought is that he's probably going to need something like Tommy John surgery. But we'll see. And it's tough because at the plate, no. Orlando Arcia has been mostly terrible this year. He has hit 3 home runs with the Rockies, which is kind of fun, but his value has been as a clubhouse guy. And I will say, at the very least, if he's going to be out for the rest of the season, he at least will still have the opportunity to be around the team and continue to be a clubhouse guy, which I know is something that he likes to do, and he likes being around the team. The young guys especially love having him around because he pumps them up. He makes them feel excited and worthwhile. And that's a really strong thing to have. It reminds me a lot, like I said last week, of Gerardo Parra, of you need that kind of high energy guy pumping up his teammates, getting people excited, especially when you're bad like this. Because baseball is supposed to be fun, and you need a guy who's going to bring that fun. But I'm not going to be out here and say that this is a huge blow to the team performance-wise, because Arcia is at best an okay defender. He is not a natural third baseman, and like we've mentioned, his bat is just not a valuable tool.
Yeah.
And so, you know, the silver lining is that this means that Kyle Karros can make his way up and make his debut, which is awesome. And, you know, we feel for Arcia. I wish him a speedy recovery and everything like that, and hopefully that he can resume his baseball career. But this kind of thing for a guy over 30 can also be a career ender when you're not, you know, putting up the dazzling numbers before it happens. So, you know, we're wishing Orlando the best of luck in his recovery.
Yeah, and how old is he? He's only 31, so he'll come back, whatever it is. There's always room for a utility infielder type guy somewhere. But yeah, tough go of it for him there. So that kind of takes away your third base option. Kyle Farmer, kind of in the same case where he's your utility guy, but his bat is just not bringing anything to the table.
Yeah.
So
better than Arcia's.
Yeah.
And it's been the same of his glove is fine. He's made the plays at third base when he started at third base. I've seen worse, but he's not a starting third baseman.
Yeah. And so warming, and it was like, oh, well, warming Bernabel can play third base in place of McMahon, or are they going to move him over there? And does, you know, Austin Nola play first base more, and Kyle Farmer over there? But no, it seems like, no, we're just going to keep Bernabel at first, and Arcia, with him on the injured list, we're going to bring somebody up. Aaron Schunk comes up, and then, of course, they bring Kyle Karros along with him. We're like, oh, well, naturally, let's put the third baseman there, because
at third base.
At third base.
Shocker.
What? Wow. But, yeah, that's why Kyle Karros is brought up The reason Shunk is called up is because Tyro Estrada is done for the season. A rough go of it because he just obliterated his hamstring, and they're just say, well, you're done for the year.
Yeah.
Put him on the 60-day injured list. That ends his season with the Rockies in what has been a rather disappointing year for him. He was the free agent, Evan, that they celebrated the most, that they got this, we got Tyro Estrada, he's going to be great. He's going to be the Gold Glover at second base. He's going to hit the ball and drive in runs. He's going to do all these things to help fix our offense. And
we saw flashes of that.
Yeah, we saw bits of it.
On the rare occasion where he was on the field.
Yeah. 39 games Tyro Estrada ends up playing this season. A good little slash line, 253 average, 285 on base. Not that great of an on base, but then again, he's never been a big on base guy. On base percentage guy. A 370 slugging. Not terrible. He had 3 homers, 21 RBIs, 39 total hits, 9 doubles, struck out 26 times, had 6 walks.
Yeah. For Tyro, it's really the doubles and stuff like that at the plate. He's not a huge power guy, but he still hit 3 home runs. When he first came back from the first injury, his defense was really pretty bad, honestly, but he rounded out and then was playing pretty good defense the rest of the way. But he spent so little time on the field. He broke his wrist in spring training, was on the 60-day for that. He sprained his other hand on an awkward slide during that series in Boston, missed some time for that. This is the 3rd time now that he's on the injured list this season, and he's shut down. He's not coming back this year. They're even discussing, potentially surgery for this hamstring injury. It's bad. He came up limp at first base, and it was another one of those ones where he's immediately coming out. Something's wrong. And they put him basically just straight away on the 60.
And that was the same game, too, that RC gets injured. The blows kept coming in that series.
And there were 4 hit by pitches in that game, too.
Yeah.
It was a hospital game.
Got hurt, too.
Yeah, it was rough. And, wish the best for Tyro. Hopefully he can hang out with the team for the rest of the season like Orlando Estrada. But, man, there is a free agent signing that just did not work out, but not for the reasons you would expect.
Who's Orlando Estrada?
Did I say Orlando Estrada? Yeah. What about Tyro Arcia?
Tyro Arcia. But yeah,
I don't know. Orlando Estrada's a cool name. Yeah. I'd go by that's my stage name. Welcome back to Rockies After Dark with Orlando Estrada.
But it's hard to gauge. I think we both agree. The signing of Estrada, it wasn't a terrible signing to play second base and fill in there. But as much as been the case, it just became a non-factor. Of he was okay when he was on the field, but he played less than 40 games. He played 40 games. It didn't move the needle in any direction, and there's a mutual option for next year, but they're probably thinking about it. No, it's probably not getting exercised.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if Tyro's back next year, just because all of a sudden the Rockies signed Tyro and Kyle Farmer to an extent, essentially because they did not believe that Adael Amador is ready. And Adael Amador may still not be ready, but the difference is now they've got other options at second base. Now they've got Ryan Ritter, who's been pretty good since his big league debut. Now they've got Rock Riggio, who they traded for from New York, who's doing well in Double-A and could be up, relatively soon-ish. Now they've got options at second base.
Yeah, and now it's just a matter of seeing who rises to the top and really makes it their own, because, even like Ryan Ritter, and he's in that same boat. He was doing better offensively than Amador, but he still has his weaknesses. There's still growth that needs to happen there. And same with Amador. And so it's like no one's a clear favorite to play that position next season. And so that's what this point, the rest of the season is going to be about. Okay, who can fill in at second base? who's going to make this their own.
This gives us probably the major position battle for spring training next year.
Mm-hmm. Until they sign Bo Bichette to a 5-year deal and convince him to play second base.
I mean, I'll be real. I wouldn't say no to that.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to happen, but I wouldn't say no.
I can dream, Harold. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting.
Just try to round up as many former Rockies kids as they can.
Yeah, it's true. Go ahead. Do it.
Who else has sons? Get Eric Young Jr. out of retirement. Hey, EY, you want to come play? I'm like 45 now.
Who cares? Come play for us. But, yeah. But it'll be interesting to see. But injuries happen, and it opens up opportunities for young guys. Amador has his shot now. Ryan Ritter, who is on his way back, probably go have some rehab games, but he'll be back soon. So the battle starts here for the rest of the season, playing second base. Getting a head start on spring training. That's pretty much what the rest of this is going to be about. But we'll touch on more of that and some other things as we take a break here and get ready for our final section here on Affected by Altitude. So don't go anywhere. Welcome back here to Affected by Altitude, ASMR edition. There we go. Scratching on the table. But really quick here, something to touch on, Evan, of a guy who is making the most of opportunity because of injuries and otherwise being bad performance. But Warming Bernabel, we talked about him quite a bit last week. And the day after that episode came out, it was announced he had won the Player of the Week. His first week of big league play, already wins Player of the Week. So, heck of a job for Warming Bernabel, who just keeps doing his thing. And, yeah.
Yeah, he's regularly getting on base. He's getting his hits. He's playing like we've seen him play. And, yeah, the production sort of slowed down a little bit because that sort of red-hot production at the very start of his career, like we saw last week, is not necessarily sustainable, but he's still been valuable at the plate. He's playing solid first base defense. Because he was Player of the Week, he gets his own card in MLB The Show, one of the few Rockies this season to accomplish that. It's been him, Mickey Moniak, and Hunter Goodman who get these spotlight cards for MLB The Show, and that's pretty cool, honestly. I think that's neat. But it's just really, it's funny to me because the American League Player of the Week was Trevor Story, whose record he broke for most extra base hits in their first 7 games with the Rockies. And I was just sitting there when that happened, and I'm like, it's like poetry. They rhyme.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but hey, good stuff.
Yeah, it's been awesome to watch Warming Bernabel, from an underlooked prospect over the last couple of years. Like we've mentioned, he previously was ranked as high as number 7 organizationally, but then just a bunch of stuff happened, and he fell off a lot of those prospect boards. And, he's really been resurgent this year in Albuquerque, and now in the big leagues going, no, you do not overlook me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Warming Bernabel.
Don't you go cold on me.
With my eye tattoo on my neck, and a very aggressive plate approach that isn't necessarily hurting him. Like, he's still not really striking out.
Yeah. He's doing what he does best, which is put bat to ball, get on base.
Yeah. And he's already Warming Bernabel in how many games he played so far? 12 games, is already in the Rockies' top 10 for wins above replacement this year with 7.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? Why don't you tell us, Skyler, what you told the class over the week about his comparison with another player?
Well, he's now played more games than Chris Bryant, but pretty much in the same comparable amount. It was like entering the Friday series against the Diamondbacks. It was through 11 games at that point. Bernabel had a 0.6 wins above replacement. according to Baseball Reference. Was hitting .364, .378, .705 with 4 doubles, 3 homers, 9 RBIs for the Rockies. In that same time frame of 11 games, that's as many as Chris Bryant has played this year. Bryant is worth negative .0.5 RWAR after those 11 games.
Oof.
Hitting a .154, 195, .205 with 2 doubles and 1 RBI. One of those players is earning $27 million this year. The other, because it is a prorated salary, is making currently $260,000 through this at this point in time through the end of the season.
Dang. That is, by baseball standards, not a lot. By my standards, ton of money. I'd love $200,000. But for the big thing for me for Warming, in 12 games now, he's struck out only 8 times.
Mm-hmm.
He's averaging under a strikeout per game.
He only has one walk, but
he's not going to walk a ton. That's not part of his game because he is, as we mentioned earlier when we were talking about Kyle Karros, it's about getting contact. It's putting the bat to the ball and trying to put the ball in play. And that's honestly, he's kind of the opposite of Michael Toglia, who he's taken over for, where, Toglia was swinging out of his shoes every at bat, but he was striking out a ton and really, sacrificing maybe putting the ball in play to avoid striking out in order to try and go yard or make that one impactful hit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Bernie's he's carved a spot for himself, and just like those other guys, enters 2025 or 2026 with kind of a foot in the door, play first base every day. Making most of opportunity. That's what you got to do. And it earned him a Player of the Week award, so good for him. See, the first or second Rocky that's done it this year. Did Goodman ever get one? Did Beck get one? Beck didn't get it that one time.
Trying to remember. Yes, the Rockies have had a Player of the Week this year, but I can't remember if it was Goodman or if it was Beck.
Let's see. Goodman, Player of the Week. I don't know if he was.
Yeah, but for strikeout, while you're looking that up, strikeout rates, league average right now is 21.7%. And Warming Bernabel is one of just 2 regular starters who are striking out less than league average. Warming Bernabel was 16.3%. And can you guess who the Rockies' leader in strikeout percentage is?
All time or this season?
This season.
Oh, that would be Michael Toglia.
No, the leader is in not striking out a lot. Sorry.
Oh. I don't know.
It's Tyler Freeman at 9.2%.
That makes sense.
Where Tyler Freeman has only struck out multiple times in a game, like 3 times this season. He has been insane. 9.2% strikeout rate is insane. But now I got to look and see who's got the best strikeout rate in the league.
But also, there has been no other Player of the Week for the Rockies this season.
Let's see here.
What about Player of the Month? I doubt there was a Player of the Month. Yeah, there was no Player of the Month. So yeah, Warming Bernabel is the only Rocky to win the Player of the Week award this year. Or Player of the Month.
Yeah, and well deserved. Though arguably, I think Mickey Moniak should have maybe been the July Player of the Month. He was one of, if not the best hitters by most numbers in July, but
Kyle Stowers is also just hitting the cover off the ball.
Yeah, he's got that light Stour power. Here are some of the other batters with strikeout percentages lower than 10%. Nolan Arenado, Alejandro Kirk, who we just saw, Stephen Kwan, Jacob Wilson, Nico Horner, and Luis Arias. Now, Luis Arias' strikeout rate is comical. It's 2.7%.
Pathetic.
Strike out more, why don't you?
Strike out less. My goodness, 2.7%. He's swinging at everything.
So undisciplined.
He's so undisciplined. Yeah, crazy stuff. Ugh. But, yeah, so congrats to Bernabel. Or Bernie.
Scorching Bernabel, as I've taken to calling him, because he is red hot.
But that brings up this next question that we've talked about before. But figuring out what the roster will look like throughout the rest of the season, or no, who's the next guy up? Who's the next to debut? Because we know Chase Dollander, guys that have debuted before, probably will make an appearance at some point again. Perhaps a Zach Veen, Chase Dollander. Oh, maybe some of those other pitchers make an appearance at some point, like a Luis Peralta or Carson Palmquist, all those guys. But who is coming up next, Evan? Who is the guy to tell fans this will be the next guy up to keep an eye on to make his debut? We're already at 12 debuts this season, so let's keep tacking them on.
Number 13, I think, is going to be Gabriel Hughes. Because starting pitching has been a problem, and we're always going to need more pitchers. He's probably the next closest to ready, and we're kind of loaded up on the position guys right now. So that's who I think it's going to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be the most logical one, but it's also like the Rockies have just been keeping an eye on his workload. Down in Albuquerque and just making sure, because this is his first season since returning from Tommy John. So that could be the one thing that dampers it, where at some point maybe they just kind of shut him down, put him on the developmental list to finish out the season. At some point maybe to just, you're done. We just want to, you've thrown enough and just want to rest you up and see how you're doing and everything. So that could be the only thing I could see that not happening, Evan. But I'm right with you. Where like if I had to pick somebody, it'd probably be Gabriel Hughes.
Yeah, it's tough because Hughes, like you said, they have been fairly conservative with his workload, especially after that shoulder impingement that he had recently that shut him down for a couple weeks, where they've got him back in Albuquerque, but he's going like 4 innings or so. And they've been really conservative with a lot of pitchers this year in terms of workload, I think, especially after the spate of Tommy John surgeries that they had. But Hughes, I think, is just the most likely option. If they wanted to go a little bit more non-traditional and it's going to be a pitcher, I think it could potentially be someone like Wellington Herrera from Hartford, who has been just, very, very good this year. It's going to be a pitcher, though, is my thought.
Yeah. Thomas Harding also writing in his new newsletter recently, last Friday, which is so when the Rockies are being circumspect with 2 prospects. Righty Gabriel Hughes is being watched closely in his comeback season for Tommy John's surgery. Lefty Sean Sullivan has been stellar at AA Hartford, but he had right hip surgery after last season and is being monitored to make sure he responds to the in-between starts workload. So some of those prime guys with starters, Gabriel Hughes or Sean Sullivan, the Rockies maybe have some of their reservations, be a little bit more hesitant to call those guys up just because of the injuries. Now, you don't want to force them up more than you need to.
Yeah, and I don't think we see Sean Sullivan this year, but they've done this with a couple of guys now. Jackson Cox down in Fresno, friend of the show. They've been very conservative with his workload. They actually just transferred him to the Arizona Complex League to give him some time off as he's been recovering, and he's been working short games, 3, 4, 5 innings most of the season.
Brody Brecht is too.
There a lot of these guys right now are on fairly strict inning limits, fairly strict appearance limits, as they're trying to be maybe even a little overprotective of a lot of these young arms. But I think I do kind of get it can be really frustrating because we want to see our guys pitch and we want to see them making their way up. But at the same time, you can see where the Rockies are coming from in terms of pitching is always going to be at a premium in this organization. And when you've had so many guys hurt recently, you want to hold on and make sure that they are healthy and you are not pushing them too much.
Yeah. Especially after you had your bundle sale last year or a couple years ago of Tommy John surgery, so you can understand why they'd be a little bit more cognizant of, let's make sure these guys aren't blowing out their arms all the time. But yeah, that I think the picking up pitchers to debut is probably the safe one. But then it's like, because that seems like Evan, the guys that would replace other pitchers on the 40-man roster. Because like an Austin Gomber, how much longer do they keep giving him starts for the rest of the season? They probably could give him throughout the end of the season, but at some point, maybe you want to give one of these other guys a look, get them on the 40-man anyway, if they're already there. But I think Gabriel Hughes, isn't he already on there? I can't remember.
I can never remember who's on the 40 and who's not.
But it just making room for guys. It could be, we'll cut Austin Gomber so he can have a chance to sign on with another team to be eligible for the postseason. That type of stuff. I'm sure we'll see maybe some of those moves coming here in the next couple of weeks. But those are those opportunities.
Gabriel Hughes is not on the 40-man roster.
So there you go.
But pitching is just, especially the rotation right now, is in a really weird spot where we don't really know what's going to go on with Herman the rest of this season, as he's on the injured list. We don't really know what's going to go on with Senzi, who, we love the guy, but should not be starting ball games if he does come back this season. And for Gomber, he's done at the end of the season. He's not a Rocky anymore. He's a free agent. And I'd be shocked if he were to come back. So how long do they hold on to him when you're not going to give him a qualifying offer? You're not going to offer him $23 million because he's going to take it. So you've just got to wonder. I do think this rotation is going to look very different in September. I think we see Dollander back at some point. I would like to see them show a little bit more confidence in Carson Palmquist. Obviously give him stuff to work on in the minors right now, but I don't like that they just came out and said, we don't think he's a starter. He's going to be in the bullpen now.
I see no problem with that. He proved he couldn't be a starter, Evan, at the big league level. That's the thing, though.
I just don't like the way they handled it.
He knew this the whole time, though. Like they've been saying time and time again, like he'll probably be a bullpen guy, but we're going to let him start for now. So I'm not surprised if they finally say, yeah, it's permanent. He's a bullpen guy.
I maybe wouldn't have said it's permanent. I would have gone with, we're going to test him out in the bullpen because right now we need bullpen guys.
Nah, his history as a reliever, so I see no problem with it.
But yeah, I think Dollander's tough because he missed a big chunk of time. He went down to the Arizona Complex League to work in the pitching and performance lab, and he made a start in this last week in Albuquerque, and first inning was rough, where he was spraying everywhere. The rest of his outing, but the rest of the outing was pretty good, honestly, where he really locked it down, and it's clear that he's working through some stuff. But yeah, it's going to be pitching. I don't see too many, maybe Sterling Thompson towards the end of the season as a position player debut, but I just don't see many other position guys who are ready for the call.
Yeah, and it's like we're saying, like you're a jam full of like younger staple guys. Like, okay, you can replace Kyle Farmer with another rookie. You can replace Austin Nola with another rookie. Like Austin Nola comes off, and now Zach Veen's on the big league roster again. Like that type of thing.
And you look at the lineup from Friday night against Arizona, where the position players, including designated hitter, the average age was 24.
Yeah.
And the two oldest guys in the starting lineup last night were 27 in Mickey Moniak and Bretton Doyle.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you want to see. That's more of that. Like last night's lineup was probably my favorite lineup of the season. And yeah, we lost, but that's what I want to see is nothing but young guys.
I just want to see good players. And they just happen to be younger, so that's what I want. But yeah.
I don't care what you want, Skyler.
But yeah, so we'll see. We'll see who the next pitcher up. That's probably the money to bet on. It'll be pitching of some kind, or somebody gets cut and you just have a random, hey, Kevin Millwood is pitching, type of scenario. Which, hey, I liked Kevin Millwood.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be roster moves the rest of the way.
Yeah, there's going to be. When it comes to the pitching, especially, it's going to be, they got to get creative there. Because who knows? Because Halverson may get to pitch again this season, but he's in the bullpen. Zach Agnos and everything with there. So you need starters. I think that's the biggest thing. They just got to find starters, and who knows what's up with Ryan Feltner, if he'll ever be able to make it back here to the big leagues this season again. I keep forgetting that he's not on the injured list anymore. He's just in Albuquerque.
No,
he's on the injured list again in Albuquerque.
Yeah, he's back on the injured list now. But
he's not on the 40
with a shoulder issue. Yeah, well, I mean, he is on the 40 man, but
he's not on the major league injured list.
Yeah, Feltner is so tough because he had that back issue. He came back and, in being very honest, looked awful in Albuquerque, and then was shut down again with a shoulder injury. And who knows if we're going to see him again this season? He'll get another shot at it next year, but this has not been the year we were hoping for him.
No, it's been rough. Yeah. But anyways, I think that'll bring this episode to a close, Evan.
I have one
rough go around.
I have one bit of trivia for you, Skyler, before we wrap things up. Did you know that there is a college sports mascot here in our beautiful state of Colorado named Skyler?
I find that false.
It is not false.
It's impinging on my rights.
Well, you are going to need to sue Fort Lewis College, home of Skyler the Skyhawk.
Okay. They'll be hearing from my lawyer.
So tune in next week as we read the lawsuit.
Litigation. We're going to get them stuck in litigation.
Welcome to Law and Order Colorado Rockies edition.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I suppose one last thing we should touch on, and we won't go over this very much, but Angel Chivier was placed on the restricted list to make a spot on the 40-man roster. Very little information publicly available outside of it is a personal matter that he has been placed on the restricted list for. So hoping everything is all right for Angel. He's not having the best of seasons, but you don't wish anything on anybody.
Yeah. But that'll do it here for this edition of Affected by Altitude. Evan, really quickly, where can the folks find you?
You can find me over on Blue Sky at evanlang27.bsky.social. I would love to hear from you. You can also catch me writing the Monday Rock Piles over on Purple Row, in addition to our weekly Pebble Report. My most recent piece over on Purple Row was an article I'm very pleased with how it came out, about the long and winding road to Major League Baseball that Dugan Darnell took when he made his debut. So go ahead and check that out. Remember that you can find Rocky Mountain Rooftop on all of your favorite podcasting platforms of choice, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Remember that you can find Rocky Mountain Rooftop on all of your favorite social media platforms, including YouTube for the video version of the show, at Rocky Mountain Rooftop. That's at ROCKYMTN Rooftop.
And find me over on Twitter at Skyler Timmons, or on Blue Sky at stimmons13.bsky.social. Right over at Wednesday Rock Piles for PurpleRow.com, and figuring out the new look for Purple Row with WordPress and all that good stuff. And then find me writing for FansFirstSportsNetwork.com, and be sure to check out our Rooftop Mingle with Braden Ward. Good stuff.
That was a lot of fun, our interview with Braden.
Good stuff. But until next time, I'm Skyler. That's Evan. This has been Affected by Altitude. Farewell!
We'll see you in court, Fort Lewis College.
This has been Affected by Altitude, a Colorado Rockies podcast with Rocky Mountain Rooftop, a proud affiliate of the Fans First Sports Network. Catch new episodes every Monday on wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Be sure to follow us on YouTube as well for video versions of the show.